Hello YouTube. So the title of this video is a bit clickbaity, but not intentionally so. I'll explain in a minute, but first let's get this flight set up so I have some background footage you can watch while I ramble on and on. We'll start from Colorado Springs and I don't know, let's go to Reno. Where's Reno here? Okay, here we go. Is this... No. No, this has the longer runway. We'll pick that. Yeah, the other runway's too short. Okay, so let's see here. We go south, bank right. Okay, easy peasy. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about is something I mentioned briefly in my update video. I've been going through some health issues for quite some time now, and it culminated with my doctors at one point thinking that I had right side heart failure. Basically, that's when the deoxygenated blood doesn't fully get pumped through your heart, and this causes, well, nothing good. In my case, it was primarily a bunch of swelling, and it also caused my oxygen saturation level to plummet. In fact, I was down to the mid-70s first thing in the morning on some of these mornings, so not the most pleasant of experiences. The net result was, as I mentioned, several trips to the ER, who promptly sent me home again. Oh yeah, these windows. This has been this way ever since World Update 6, at least for me. I hope I just have to re-download this plane and I'll fix it, but it still works in third person, so we'll have to use that, because there's no way to use first person, that's for sure. Okay, let's just get this up in the air and then I can concentrate on what I'm saying. Okay, after that transmission, I won't need to worry about the radio until we're getting ready to land. Actually, I probably don't need to worry about it then either, but I found that airport landings only seem to count in this game if you announce your landing and then do so on the right runway. At least when I've tried to skip that in the past, I've ended up with the landing not counting. And since there's that achievement for landing at 500 different airports, wasting a landing is brutal. Also, just got to point out, for those of you who recognize my last name, this is my mountain over here. So, yes, it's mine, but if I try to go up it, they still charge me money on the toll road and cog railway and all that fun stuff. But personally, I think it's proof that my time machine will eventually work, so feel free to invest today. Alright, but back on point now that I'm basically on the right flight path here. I'm going to keep afterburners on for speed, and oh, I probably am going to have to add some gas since it's only at 50% when I took off. Okay, we'll see how far I can squeeze that, but hooray for realism in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I can just magically give myself gas whenever I want. It's so real. Okay, yes, the point of why I'm doing this. Okay, so after going in and out of the ER several times these past few months, my primary care physician eventually called one of them before I got in so that they had more information to work with, and that way, instead of just sending me home with the usual "we don't have any open beds right now and your vitals are basically okay" speech, they actually did a bunch of tests on me, and that's when the ER doctor told me that she thought I had right side heart failure. She said that the other trips to the ER wouldn't have caught it, since they usually look for left side heart failure, which I guess primarily shows up with fluid in the lungs and things like that. My swelling was mainly in my legs, which is more common for right side heart failure, where your body just dumps extra fluid wherever. It's not directly in the lungs like left side. But anyway, that would explain why my chest x-rays and my ECG were always showing normal when they tested me there. If it was right side and they're looking left side, then yeah, it would be easy to miss, I guess. But here's the thing about heart failure. One of the medical staff I discussed this diagnosis with told me that the median survival rate, excuse me, I had to clear my throat there, the median survival rate for heart failure is between 5 and 10 years. And so suddenly I was looking at two blaring facts that were the kind of blaring facts you can't ignore, no matter how much you want to. First, there was a very good chance that I'm not going to live to even hit 50. And secondly, I was actually okay with that. I think it was because of how crazy everything has been for the past 2 years. What with COVID lockdowns, the economy going down the toilet faster than F. Joe Biden sniffs a child's hair, social distancing, big tech censorship, the forced pretend that things that are real aren't, and things that aren't are. I was just like, do I really want to live that much longer in this universe? All in all, I'd rather be in Philadelphia. But in all seriousness, there was more to it. See, I actually felt a genuine sense of calm about it. And I need to be extremely clear here because I suspect it's difficult for people to understand. But I didn't feel a sense of defeat or failure. Like sure, there were things that I wanted to do that realistically I would not get to do anymore. But on the whole, I was like, yeah, I've had a good life. Like, what can I really complain about? If today was my last day on Earth, I wouldn't be feeling regret, even with the things that I would never get to accomplish. And I guess it was obvious that I felt that way because one of the nurses later told me that the doctor thought I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. But in this case, it wasn't what I didn't understand. Although true, fair enough, I honestly didn't really understand everything that would happen with heart failure. That's true. But to me, it was more of what I did understand than what I didn't understand. See, I'm a Christian, and for me, belief in God has always been easy. Like, I've never had any crisis of doubt or anything like that. I know people have gone through that. I know a lot of them personally. But I've just never had that struggle. To me, it's just obvious that God exists. I mean, that doesn't mean everything is perfect by any means. It's less obvious to me whether God is good or not. But I actually think that the definition of good that most people hold to is not actually accurate when you apply it to God. But before fellow believers gasp and yell, blasphemy, I would just like to point out that if your definition of what is good or not comes from your own brain, and you are a Christian, then you should recognize that you're also a sinner, which means that your definition of good is coming from the brain of a sinner. It might be something you want to keep in mind, like when you're saying, trust me, I know what is good. But this channel isn't about proselytizing or anything like that. Frankly, and quite honestly, I don't really care if anyone agrees or disagrees with me. Suffice to say, I have my reasons for believing what I do, and I believe that a biblical standard of what is good shows that God is definitely good, and right now that's enough for me. But that definition of good did take lots of time for me to accept because of my own idea of what good or evil was, and as I just mentioned, that's also derived from the brain of a sinner, in this case, that sinner being me. But point is, I've never struggled with whether or not God exists. Because I believe in the existence of a good God, then I actually did feel that peace that happens when I heard my expiration date was approaching and could be before I hit 50. it wasn't as concerning. My dad has a saying that he often repeats. It essentially goes along the lines of, until God's plan for your life is done, you're immortal. Of course, God's plan could be that you'll die within the next 52 seconds, but the point still stands. And knowing that God's got your back, for me, is quite comforting. So, yeah, it was strange. I got news which I always would have expected would make me feel anxious or at least really stressed out, and instead I was like, meh. I mean, it wasn't like I was saying, cool, I get to expire soon. But as another side, yes, I have to use coded words on YouTube because certain words in the English language are not permitted to be said by our dictators from Silicon Valley who get to decide what you can and cannot speak about. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't like I was looking forward to it, but it was more like I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's a thing. Kind of like when I watched Squid Games, I was like, that's a thing. I mean, part of it was good. I'm not gonna lie, it was at least entertaining, but at the same time, I was like, I don't understand how this got to be. And to interrupt myself, I don't understand how this got to be the topic of my current statement. Sorry, because that's not the end of the story. Because after the ER doctor diagnosed me with right side heart failure, the next step is, of course, you got to see a cardiologist to confirm that diagnosis and then to see how bad the damage is. So then they can give you a actual expiration date. You have 3 years or whatever they're going to say at that point. So after 2 more stints in the ER, I finally was able to get that appointment with the cardiologist. And he looked at the same blood panels and the same x-rays that the ER doctor had looked at, everything else. And he said, you're fine. And most of this value here, I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was referencing, he's like, this value is in a gray area, but I've seen way worse. And given all your other vitals and your age, there's no reason at all for concern. So then he scheduled an echocardiogram and a stress test to confirm that. And the next week, after I had completed those, sure enough, I do not have heart failure. Which, that's the good news. The bad news is that we're back to square one. We have no idea what I actually do have at this point. I do have oxygen at night now, which helps with my low oxygen saturation values, but other than that, we really don't have any idea of what's actually causing all the health issues that are going on. So, I mean, I guess that's actually good news too, because eventually it will mean that whatever I have, since I don't know what it is, will be named after me. Oh, just like my mountain at the beginning of this game. I so wish I had thought of that intentionally, but I'll take the accidental reference there. Yeah, so maybe another proof of my time machine working, right? Yeah. So now I'm in the position where a week ago I knew the odds of me living to 50 were relatively low, and this week they're whatever they are. No one knows. But almost certainly whatever I do have, it can't be as bad as heart failure would have been. And again, everything they're looking at in all my tests is showing up normal, so it doesn't look like I have any weird tumors or anything like that either. So, yeah, it's a mystery right now. And yes, if you're wondering, yeah, mysteries kind of annoy me a little bit because my brain likes to solve puzzles, not cause them. But honestly, even with that being my default nature, I'm still kind of in that same position as I was before, where I just feel like, okay, whatever God wants to do is whatever will happen anyway, so I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'll just keep walking along day by day, one foot in front of the other. I'm trapped in my apartment, socially distanced from humanity, or whatever. Yeah, so, well, there you go. has gotten me thinking a bit about my YouTube channel and, about what kinds of things I want to talk about. For instance, my most watched videos so far have all been math related, but honestly, as much fun as math is, because again, I like puzzles, I'm not really sure I want to do many more videos on math. I think I would prefer going over the rules of logic, especially logical fallacies, because reading or watching the news today, that will drive you absolutely bonkers with the intentional distortion of reality. The gaslighting and the outright lying right in your face that goes on. And my cat even agrees, if you heard that. I can't think that the vast majority of this world actually falls for this, but then I'm reminded how logic isn't actually taught in schools, unless you happen to be in engineering class or something. There's a world of difference between ignoring the law of non-contradiction in a humanities class and ignoring the law of non-contradiction when you're designing a bridge meant to carry 50,000 people every day. And in that sense, since math is really just a form of logic abstracted through numbers, well, yeah, maybe I will continue doing math videos. Basically, though, I just want to be able to talk about things that are true, because our culture today is so demanding that truth can't be true, and that lies are true instead, and that you must agree with their distorted view of reality. Whether it expresses itself in cancel culture or just in the way that things you saw for yourself with your own eyes are explained away with hand waving, we are literally in the post-truth society. No longer is truth relative, it doesn't exist at all. It's kind of like Thanos said, reality can be whatever I want it to be. But that's not how reality actually works. Reality is, now get this, real. Reality is real. It doesn't change because you hope and wish really, really hard. Truth is true, and lies are false, and that, more than anything else, is completely lost in today's culture. And look, I'm not even saying that you have to be right about everything or even anything. No one is right about everything. But right now, no one is even permitted to stake a truth claim. If you say, I believe this is true, even though you start off with that clarification, I believe, to indicate that you're not speaking objectively, someone on TwitFace is going to be denying you your right to say it, and they'll seek to punish you by terminating your employment. That is the world we live in, where hypocrites do as they please while keeping you from the basic human right of freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and freedom of association. Look at the world we live in right now, this minute. Can you imagine the absolute crap storm that would have happened if 2 years ago someone had said, you're not going to be allowed to work for a year, and then you can only come back after you allow the government to put a completely new substance into your body, which you will have to get renewed every couple of months, or none of them will count from before, and then you won't be able to work again. Meanwhile, the supply chain will completely collapse, and you won't be able to buy anything even if you had money, which you won't have because you can't work. So don't worry about it. Honestly, how many of you 2 years ago would have said, yeah, that's going to happen in our future, instead of, why are you telling me about 1982 in the Soviet Union? Seriously, this is where we're at now. Breadlines and rationing while the government goes further in debt. I've already seen this play out across the Atlantic Ocean once in my lifetime. I really don't need a repeat on these shores. Okay. That's enough ranting on politics for now. The important thing is, I think we need to return to a truth-honoring society. Again, I'm not saying we have to agree with any particular conclusions, but to have a society where we at least honor the fact that contradictions can't both be true, is that too much to ask? Honestly, is it? I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe that's also what these censors want us to think. There's a reason this looks so much like the Soviet Union, and why I reference that. Because these tactics don't change. They've been done before. The first thing when you want to control a society is you make everyone think that they're the only one who believes the way that they do. You isolate people. You don't allow dissent, so that people will conform because they want to be with people. When you isolate them, which we've done physically through lockdowns and then also mentally through cancel culture, then people will conform. That's the nature. People want to be together, and that tactic is straight out of the playbook. So, yeah, I think maybe learning logic is probably the absolute best way to counter this. So I'll probably start doing some videos on that in the near future. Depending on my health, of course. It's always the wild card. But yeah, I guess I'm done ranting for a minute. But let me see here. I think we've got to be getting close to Reno now. Come on. Oh yeah, it needs to load. They're right on track. Yay! I'm a good navigator. Let's find the radio tower I need. Looks like I am still out of range. That's the fun part about this jet. It's so fast that you run up on the towers really, really quickly. And yeah, I really hadn't realized just how close you have to be before you can actually register them in your radio. So not until I started playing with this jet, which it's been a lot of fun. I like flying it, especially low to the ground. Going this fast over the west, it's always fun. I'm also reminded I'm like 20 minutes in, give or take, on this one. And I remember the last time I was in Reno, my dad and I actually drove out there. My dad drove, and it took us pretty much all day to get there. Same trip I'm doing now, and probably get done in half an hour for the whole trip. So yeah, again, distances, depending on what you're traveling in. That's when you're in a jet and you're not on a road and this jet's going supersonic. Technically, everything that I'm doing here would be illegal because of all the sonic booms over residential areas and stuff. But as I mentioned earlier, way back at the beginning of this, Microsoft Flight Simulator is so dedicated to realism. Anyway, I should get back on course here. Have to figure out how I'm going to be entering Reno here. It looks like from the north. Okay. Okay, so I'll just go over here. I think it's right near these mountains. I remember Reno being near mountains when we were there. So, probably over here. I still don't see it on my radio list, but anyway, I think that'll do it for my commentary for today. So I'll just keep flying and leave this going for anybody who wants to see the end of it. But if you just wanted to hear me talk, I'm pretty much done now. Tired myself out. I do hope everybody has a wonderful day, and peace out. Looks like I do have to go over some of this stuff. Okay. I did not realize how far away we actually were from Reno. Goodness, here. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need to add a little bit of fuel too. So, more realism, yay! Man, that's good enough, yeah. Other than cycling through my radio comms channels looking for this tower, this is actually a really relaxing game. I love it. Get to chill out and just fly over the wild, wild west and see the sights that God made. Yeah, I definitely recommend this if you have any desire for a flight sim. Microsoft Flight Simulator is pretty good. If it's not going to be your hardcore one, like if you want hardcore mil sim, then DCS is probably going to be better, but I prefer being able to go anywhere in the world, which you can do on this map. So this is actually Bing Maps that they use. So yeah, there you go. There we go.
Reno Tower Charlie Yankee 57 Mike is 73 miles east 12,700 feet with Mike to land. Charlie Yankee 57 Mike Reno Tower. Altimeter 29 Echo Liner 2 wind 257 and 3. Fly right base runway 16 right. Fly right base runway 16 right 57 Mike.
Okay, we're getting close, so let's cut throttle to half, slow down a bit, and lose some altitude. And this is always the fun part, playing where is the runway at? Fun times. And this stupid bar is always going to be in the way too. Yeah, I still don't see the city yet. Fun. Yeah, I gotta start turning to the left here. Yeah, let's throw spoilers on too. Ah, my compass is updated, so I need to turn. Okay. Yeah, we're slow enough. I can drop gear now too. Where is this runway? I don't think that's it. Ah, there it is. I'm a bit high in the wrong angle, but this is doable. Let's drop the throttle back more and line up here. I drifted right, but yeah, any landing that doesn't destroy your aircraft is a good landing, right? All right, well, that's going to do it. I thank anybody who stayed this far. Hope y'all have a wonderful day, and peace out.